How are your rookies doing so far in 2023? Let's find out how we've shifted them in our rankings right now. Let's go.
Let's go.
Let's go. Welcome into another episode of Dynasty After Dark. I'm your host, Calvin Timms, my co-host, Dale Terry. And you can find us over on Twitter at TDC_Calvin, at Dynasty_Dale. You can find the podcast at FF After Dark. And I'm just calling it Twitter. I'm done with this X nonsense. X didn't give it to me, so, I'm done with it. But before we get into today's episode, we are going to be re-ranking the wide receivers from the 2023 rookie class and seeing how some of these guys have shifted. Earlier today, we dropped our quarterback and running back, and this one's going to be going over all the pass catchers. So make sure you guys go check out that video. While you're over there, please follow the podcast on YouTube, Spotify, Rumble, Apple, Google, wherever you listen to podcasts. If you're looking for videos, Rumble and YouTube, but everywhere else is audio. If you can, please subscribe to the channel and leave a comment, like on the video. Just helps us with the algorithm. We're trying to do all kinds of content for you guys. We got the sports betting podcast as well. That's going to be coming on Saturday morning. So make sure you guys come and check that one out. Made some decent side cash last couple of weeks, so hopefully you guys are checking that one out. But yeah, there's all kinds of content, and I am exhausted from all this. It's that time of year, but we keep the grind up for you, the people, right? So how's it going today, Dale?
Hey, it's going really well. It's when you guys are hearing this. Hopefully it's Friday and you're going into we're into week 7 already.
Yeah, dude, it's crazy.
It's flying by, and I really hope that your fantasy leagues are going as well as ours. So
yeah, right.
Hopefully we can keep this up.
Not our week 7 week. Dale and I have a team that we share, and the buys and injuries have got us down so bad that we don't have a starting quarterback in a super flex league. In the Superflex, we have no starting quarterback this week.
It is not good.
Yeah. We're starting guys like Marvin Mims and Kendre Miller out of necessity.
Yes, so, it feels really gross, but I mean, you got to do what you got to do.
Yep, it's not great. It's not great. No. Better weeks are ahead.
100%. Yeah.
So, all right, now we're gonna go over the wide receivers and pass catchers. We're gonna go over. You want to do the tight ends first, just because they're quick and easy, and we can get them out of the way. All right, nobody cares about these guys, but we're going to talk about them really, really quickly. The tight end rankings. I will happily stand on my pedestal of being right about my final preseason rankings. Sam Laporta was number 1. He's getting all the volume out of all of these guys, so you'll love to see it. It's just I don't know what to tell you guys. It made sense. They got a tight end as their head coach. They drafted this guy very highly. They have no other weapons, really. And Sam Laporta has 80 points as a rookie tight end. That is insane. He's got 3 touchdowns, 29 catches for 300 yards through 6 games. Like, he's playing very, very well. And he's got the I forget who they play this week, actually.
They have the Ravens this week.
Oh, yeah. He's going to ball out again, man. He's balling out again.
Yeah, he probably will. Yep.
But no, this guy's been nuts for the tight end position for a rookie. He's breaking all the stereotypes. He was my preseason or final rankings tight end number 1. So just want to humble brag there. I did move Michael Mayer up 1 in these rankings here. I do have a tier gap though between Laporta and Mayer, Kincaid, and Musgrave. Those are the only 3 that I actually care about behind him.
100%. Yep.
And I put Mayer ahead of Kincaid in this tier with Musgrave as the 3rd guy. And the reason why is Kincaid has been the biggest disappointment. And you go back to way back when Michael Mayer was my number 1 guy forever, and he's finally starting to get involved with this offense. And I think it's only going to be going up from here. So, I think that he's going to get a little bit more of the Laporta treatment going forward. And Kincaid, man, he just can't, one, he can't stay healthy. 2, when he's on the field, he's just not getting targeted. And, he's not even considered an option right now in this offense. Yeah. And, that's unfortunate, but it is what it is for rookie tight ends. Everyone thought with first round capital it'd be different, but, it's just, that's how it's going to go. So Kincaid is my number 3 tight end right now. What about you?
Yeah, I definitely agree with that. I'm in the same way. Like I have Sam Laporta in his own tier, and then I got Michael Mayer, then Kincaid, and then I guess I feel like I feel like Musgrave is a tier below those guys.
He's
I
getting
don't feel
volume.
like
That's the only reason
he
why.
he
But
is he is a little bit, but not. I feel those other guys are a little bit more
he's got
talented, and
23 targets though, and yeah, I hear you. But him being a
yeah,
second round pick, I think that they're going to try and get him more involved. So
yep,
he's got 23 targets through however many games, 5 games now.
hmm,
So a decent clip, 18 catches. He's
yep,
second of the rookies. So I think that there are some signs of life. So I would put him in the same tier as these other guys, but I can understand the arguments against it as well. So
yeah,
all right, enough boredom with the tight end position. Let's go over to the
please, yeah,
the fun and exciting wide receivers. Now, Dale,
yes.
I'm going to ask you your tier one here first because mine might surprise you.
Um, I would say I mean, I have strong feelings about some players in this the wide receivers, but I mean, I still have JSN up there. I think he still has the talent. I think targets haven't been there, but they will be, and I think they're going to pick up. And then I have him, Jordan Addison, and Zay Flowers in my first tier.
Okay. So my tier one is a little bit different, and we
Mhm.
can talk about it. So
Yeah.
instead of JSN, so you had JSN, Addison, Flowers, right? Only those three.
Yep.
I
Yep.
have Addison and Flowers, but I have Puka instead of Jason.
Okay.
And the
Yeah.
reason why is Puka has shown that dude is a route running savant. Like he is insane. And he's still balling out with Cooper Cup. And this is why I'm
Hmm.
really mad at myself that I didn't go and get him in more places while I had
Right.
the chance and the opportunity. But Puka seems like the real deal. And you got Cooper Cup ahead of him. Cooper Cup's older. He's kind of been banged up the last couple of years. He's got Sean McVay for now. He's got Matt Stafford, and that's a good combination of guys.
It is. It is.
And I think Cooper Cup's going to continue to produce. And we've seen that when Cooper Cup goes down, that Puka will still be a stud. He will be even better
Yeah.
than he is now. He's been perfectly fine now, and he was even better without Cooper Cup. So I think Puka deserves to be number one in this tier, and it's mostly because of the return on value, because he's going to produce
Yeah.
for you, and he's going to hold that value from here on out. And that's why when I look at my wide receiver rankings, I shift them a little bit more drastically than other people. And it's mostly not because of my mindset. I still agree with you. In 5 years' time, I think JSN will be the number one guy out of this group. But it doesn't matter because his value is going to absolutely plummet, right? And that's fine. I'm good with that. Push him down the board so I can get him cheaper in the future. And,
Right.
the guys that are producing now, they're going to jump up a little bit more, and I'm going to be able to capitalize on that. So this is from a value standpoint, how I'm ranking these guys in terms of trading them, moving them, and also production on the field. So that's a little bit of a caveat to mine. But I agree with you with Addison and Flowers. I have these guys up here. Flowers is just
Mhm.
he's the number one wide receiver for what it's worth for the Baltimore
Yeah. Yeah.
nightmare that they've kind of been playing with. But
Yeah.
yeah, and Addison with no Justin Jefferson, he played pretty well last week. So, you
Hmm.
cannot complain about that. And I always thought Jordan Addison would have the, one of the best rookie years out of these guys. But I was a little surprised by some of the other guys like JSN, Quentin Johnson, some of the other guys we'll talk about here shortly.
Yeah.
But
I mean, and with JSN, like I'm not super surprised because he did have two studs in front of him.
right.
So
We always expected this a little
yeah,
bit, but
yeah,
yeah,
we did.
and we can talk about him. He's the number one guy in my next tier here, tier
Yep.
two. So he did go from number one overall to top of tier two. And the only reason why is because he's not going to get the volume. He's not going to get the play. And this was always my fear with him. You look at the guys and the points scored so far through 6 weeks, and he's got 27 points in 6 weeks, 5 weeks, I guess,
I
because they
know.
had the
I
bye.
know.
And it's just, he's not a priority for this team. And with Pete Carroll, it's going to stay this way until either Lockett moves on or Metcalf moves on. While they're on this team, they will continue to give them the priority over JSN. And this was kind of what I was talking about at the end of the rookie review with JSN. That was my fear. And it's kind of playing out here just because I saw it with Rashad Penny for years, man. Like, Pete Carroll does not do what we want him to do, unfortunately. And you can fight it. You can complain about it, but Pete Carroll's going to Pete Carroll, and he does not care. He's going to chew bubble gum, and he's just not going to care about your opinion or your feelings. So JSN, he had to be knocked down one. I think long term he's still a good player, but you know, I think we have to live in the world of Pete Carroll right now.
Yeah, and I do hear that. So I would say in mine, you know, I like Puka, but I'm not as I feel it's a little fool's gold with what's going on, and I think he's only relevant. I feel he's more relevant only because um Cup's injury and stuff like that. So I think we're going to see a little bit of a downgrade for him, and I feel he's a very replaceable talent in my opinion.
Dude, I don't know. Watching him play, I don't think so, but you know, that's fair. So who do you have in your tier 2 then? Because you have Jason in your tier 1, right?
Yes, I do. So, I mean, I would say I would have Puka in that top tier.
In tier 1 or tier 2?
In tier 2.
Okay. Top of tier 2,
I mean,
you're saying. Okay.
Yeah.
So basically, we just
it's
flipped
tough.
JSN and Puka.
Yes, pretty much, yeah.
Okay.
Yep. So, yeah, so I mean, and in that one, you know, I feel Puka is kind of in his own tier with me for
Okay.
right now with how it's with how the other guys have played. You know, I
Fair.
kind of think I feel he's his own entity right now.
Sure.
You know, I feel that the beginning of the season was only I feel it was a lot of it was just because of Cup's injury, and I still think he could be very successful, but
Mm-hmm.
I don't know for how long.
We'll see. We will see. I think it's
Yeah,
going to continue, but
absolutely. Yeah.
you know, there are skeptics like Dale out there, so you know,
Yep, there are.
it's definitely understandable.
Yeah.
So with Jason in tier 2 for me, I have Quentin Johnson and Marvin Mims. People are freaking out about Quentin Johnson right now, man.
They
It's
are.
like, dude, what in the
Yeah.
world? Like, I've been talking about this on Twitter, and it's hilarious because like people do not understand context at all. Like, Quentin Johnson is on a team with the head coach who is playing for his career because if he loses this year, he's going to get fired. He's already on the hot seat.
100%. Yeah.
And, you know, he's on the hot seat. They're going with Josh Palmer instead of Quentin Johnson. Yeah. Like, someone posted, I forget, I would give you credit, but I just don't remember who it was. But someone posted all of his routes from week number, 6, just the other day. And the dude was consistently open. So all the people are like, oh, he's a bust. He can't even separate. He's wide open. He's just not getting the looks, man. I don't know what to tell you. The guy's playing fine. Okay, he's not a physical receiver. We knew this. He never played big. He plays small for a big wide receiver. Who cares? He's wide open. Like, Kellen Moore and Brandon Staley are just not good coaches, man. Kellen Moore can create a creative offense, but they're not good at their jobs. Like, why are we blaming Quentin Johnson for something that the coaches are bad at? Like, same with Marvin Mims. Marvin Mims is in this tier for me too. I have Jason, QJ, and Mims. Mims, when he's on the field, he has like 5 touchdowns on like 15 routes and targets. Like, what do you want from the guy? He's shown everything you need on tape. He has 12 targets and he has, I thought he had more touchdowns.
I think he's had some kick return touchdowns. I think that's part of it. Like, I think he's only had I think he's had a handful of offensive touchdowns, and then I think he's had 1 or 2 special teams.
Okay, yeah, he has, yeah, no, he had a 2 touchdown week, I thought. Well, whatever. Doesn't matter. He's been a beast down the field, right? Marvin Mims has been a beast. He's got 10 catches on 12 targets for 250 yards, and he can't even get a look in this offense because Sean Payton is Sean Payton is openly tanking in front of our eyes, and nobody wants to call it what it is, right? So, like, I'm tired of people freaking out like, oh, they're not good players. They've shown everything they need on tape. Like, just go look, right? They're still just fine talents. They're just not getting the targets. Like, oh, targets are earned. I get it, but I don't know what else they can do to earn them.
I mean, I feel better about Marvin Mims than I do Quentin Johnson.
I get it, but
Yeah,
again, it's
yeah,
just
but
Staley's a bad
yeah,
coach.
yeah, yeah. I do agree, and I feel for a lot of these guys, like, we need to just wait and see how they're, like, in into year 2, really, for a lot of these guys, it's gonna be big to see how they progress and see how they fit in their
Right.
offenses, and, I kinda think we're wait and see on QJ, like, like, especially, like, if the season progresses how we think it is for the Chargers, which they're gonna be charging, so
Yep. Every
I think
week.
Staley
Every
yeah,
week.
I feel Staley's gonna end up getting fired, and, they're gonna have a new head coach and a new regime, and they're gonna be kinda starting over with QJ, which I probably was higher on him than I should have been. I'm not.
No, he's a good player. He's gonna
I
be
feel he's
fine.
a good player. I feel he's a good player, but I feel there's a little bit better wide receivers so far.
There's 0% chance that Palmer is a better wide receiver than Quinn Johnson, but
I don't
whatever.
disagree. I think talent wise, I don't disagree with that. But in this offense, I feel Justin Herbert trust him, and at least Brandon Staley trust him. I
I
don't know
don't know
about
why he's
Kellen
dropped
Moore,
so
but
many.
I know,
I know,
I,
whatever.
I know that.
We'll move
I know
on.
that.
We'll move
So,
on. Tier
yeah,
three
yeah,
here.
yeah, we will.
Tier three for me, Michael Wilson and Tank Dell. These guys, I have them a little bit lower. They're producing better than the entire tier above them. The problem that I have with these two guys and the fear that I have with these two guys is just that they are the number one candidates on their team to get replaced in next year's draft. Michael Wilson, it's entirely possible that they go because they're going to have a top pick. They could go and get Marvin
Yeah,
Harrison, for example. We never know
yeah,
what's going to happen. And if they go and do that, you've got Hollywood Brown, you got Marvin Harrison. Okay, all of a sudden it's not looking good. Same with Tank Dell. Houston probably might have a pretty high pick because they have Cleveland's. Maybe it's not going to be top 5 like some of these other guys, but it's entirely possible that Tank Dell, they go and get, Rome Odunze or Malik Neighbors or somebody
yeah.
on this offense to pair with CJ Stroud. And there's a lot of good receivers coming out in next year's draft. And I think Tank would be the direct impact of that. I think Nico is kind of safe. Tank, he's a good player, but he's tiny and he's more of a gadget guy that would be bumped out with a new
Yeah,
guy. So these guys are
I
good, but
right.
there's just fear with me.
I think with Dell, I think I feel better about him than I do Michael Wilson. I think they
Fair.
can use Tank Dell a lot,
His speed, right?
and yeah, in a lot of more different ways than they can Michael Wilson.
Fair.
So I'm not as worried. I think I would add to that Josh Downs. I think Josh Downs has played really well this
I
year.
have him in the next
Um,
tier for me. So
yeah,
I have him
yeah,
in
yeah,
tier
and
4
he's yeah, yeah, and
with
he's
Rashee
really
Rice.
yeah, and he's really showed out. So
Right.
I mean, personally, me and Dynasty, I would rather have Downs than Rashee Rice. I know Rice is with Patrick Mahomes and stuff like that, but
Right.
it really hasn't been super good
He's been good when he
with
gets the
him.
targets, but he's just not getting a ton of targets. So I want to see
Right.
Rice throughout the rest of the year. If he can kind of
Yep.
work, and that's kind of always Andy Reid, right? He starts these guys off a little bit slow as rookies and kind of works them in. So I want to see Rice in week 14, 15, the
Yeah.
playoffs, because these guys are
Yep.
going to the playoffs. So we'll see what he can do
Right.
there. But I do think that this offense likes Rice more than Sky Moore already,
Yes, they
So
do. 100%. Yeah.
yeah, so I think that Rice is the one. That's the only reason why I'm keeping him up here. Downs, the same thing. But the same thing with Wilson and Tank Dell. They're already talking about bringing in Jerry Jeudy to this offense, right? And then all of a sudden, Downs'
Yeah.
value is just, it's gone. So,
Agreed. Agreed.
that's why I have him down in a little bit of a tier. Then he's Downs a little bit of a tier from the other
Yeah.
guys. But, I think he is a good player and he's played very well. But I think that his opportunities could disappear in the blink of an eye.
He could, but I mean, I also feel that Downs does. I think he's been too productive in his college career, and
Sure.
he
He's a
and he
good
has pretty
player,
good
don't get me
draft
wrong.
capital. Yeah, yeah. I feel he's a better player than like like I feel that Josh Downs would be doing similar things to what Puka Nakua is, in my opinion.
Yeah, maybe.
But that's just me, and I feel a lot of it's with the offensive scheme, but that's beside the point. Um, so some players that we've really been falling on, if you've been following us, is like the Cedric Tillmans of the world, which
He's been banged up,
the
hasn't been able to get on
yes,
the
he's
field.
been
And
banged up. Yeah, like him and
yep.
Jonathan Mingo have not been very
Yep.
productive so far.
Yep, we talked about Mingo a little bit yesterday. Well, with the other video talking about quarterbacks and Bryce Young, but the fact that the team is trying to find a wide receiver one, as they call it, it's not a good sign.
It's very concerning for him. And I've never seen Jonathan Mingo as a wide receiver one. Like,
I agree.
you know,
but there was hope there given the lack of talent. But Adam Thielen being the number one for the team, not a great sign. So
no, it's not.
But yeah, there's a few guys that are falling. Jalen Hyatt is another guy. When he's on the field, man, he looks actually decent, but
he does.
The Giants,
I agree, but
they're just a nightmare, man.
They're just looking horrible, and Daniel Jones is back in rare form. Yep.
And Tyrod's not going to throw down the field to Jalen Hyatt.
0%. Like I think Tyrod can barely throw it to Darren Waller. So.
Yeah, Tyrod is not the most throw it up and give your guys a chance type of player.
No, he's definitely not.
But is there anybody else you want to talk about, or are you good?
I think we're all good.
So, yeah, there's a lot of movement here in the wide receivers, like we talked about. Not a big surprise. Wide receivers, it's what have you done for me lately in Dynasty?
Yep,
and
100%.
Again, if I was ranking these guys based on how I would draft them, Puka would be my number one. JSN would still be my number two. I'd probably take Addison in three because in 5 years' time, I think that JSN is going to be a superstar, man. I really do.
I do too.
But, he's going to be behind these guys for a while, and his value is going to absolutely tank. So, the reason why I have him down here is I know how his value is going to go, so don't invest in him now. Just go and get him later. And if you have JSN, do not sell him. Well, if you can sell him high now and then go back and
100%.
buy him later, do that. But, unfortunately, that's just the world we live in with these wide receivers. If you're not Jamar Chase putting up, elite numbers as a rookie,
Monster
then you're terrible and a bust. So just how the world we live in. It's stupid, but
unfortunately.
All right. Well, that said, thank you guys for joining us. Again, follow us on Twitter. Hit us up one more time. TDC_Calvin, Dynasty_Dale, and FF After Dark. Hit us up with any questions, roster, start sits. Those will be back here in a later date. With all the teams on bye, we felt like this was a good time to go through some of the re-rankings episodes here and give our thoughts on that. But we'll be back with it. So make sure you guys tune us in later in the next couple of weeks. We're going to be pumping out the content. And again, Saturday, we've got the sports betting podcast as well. Follow along if you want to win some extra cash. I mean, I'm making $5 bets here and there. Like, it's not like I'm betting $100 on Derek Carr to not throw an interception in this game. You know what I mean? I'm not crazy, man. Like, but if you want to hear some fun bets to make that have a pretty high hit rate so far through the first couple of episodes, go check that out. We're definitely up in money so far on the season, so yeah, it feels pretty good. I like to make you guys some extra cash and help you win your leagues too. So go check that out. That said, until next time, thank you guys so much for joining us. Have a good night.
And we all got dreams, we all want things, but what you gonna do for it? How you gonna move for it? What you gonna be?